Okay. When the armies of consciousness conquered the void. I wanted to speak about the significance of the imagery of armies. All right, what can I say? That since childhood, the idea of an army headed somewhere was fascinating to me. Whether it's through history or, movies, fictional movies, the idea of the strength in numbers, the idea that there is strength in numbers is a very interesting. If we were to think of, let's say, the idea of an army, we could envision it to be a collection of the archetypes. So what does that mean? That means if you have designers, you can have an army of designers. You can have an army of chefs, imagine. In one of my sci-fi science fiction chapters I've written, you know, long story short, it's about an army of kings. What's really, I guess, imagery that's drawing me in to talking about this is really just the potential of the army. The first thing I wrote for this title, honestly, was the armies of mankind. But then I wondered, okay, the same time that you can have like human beings going against the force, could there be a deeper war? Do you know, right now, imagine you're someone who's in a fight, you're fighting a fight. Now, could there be a deeper war, a greater battle that is taking place simultaneously as our battle is taking place, for example? And so, when it comes to the notion of an army, it's really in regards to strategy. That means if the strategy is the expectation and the wanting of an outcome, then the army is part of the tactics of getting the strategy to work. So when we talk about armies, we're also tapping into the idea of what is the strategic value of a collection of an archetype. Okay? So if there were engineers and there was an army of engineers based on what they wanted to solve or build, So this episode really is like I'm zooming into the sentence, the title of the episode, and extracting insight that way. So pretty much this is the idea, right? Imagine you have a kingdom. That kingdom is at war, or that kingdom wants to go to war. That kingdom needs force, needs strength. The strength is in its numbers, how many people it has. The collection of those people and the types of problems they solve. An army is like a giant team. You know, that means whether I say the armies of humanity or if I say the great human team, it's the same because each is playing out a role. An army conquers, right? In history, we see it. And the vision of conquering something is to, in some sense, make it your own. When I think about conquerors and kings battling it out, it was pretty much who can make the space their own. Imagine this person, there's this general called General XYZ. Okay, General XYZ, okay, has an army, let's say Army XYZ. They invade a place that is, let's say, ABC. And so what I'm trying to say is they turn when a place gets conquered, it is being remodeled, remodified. So what I'm trying to say is that consciousness, so the same way if we saw like a human army, let's say aliens land down and like the armies of humanity have to combat them, right? So there's that sense of a conquering. Then there's the conquering, which is on a lower level, not lower level, on a different level, more of a microscopic level. It's in some sense the conquering of evolution. That means if evolution, I'm not saying evolution was done by like, was an effort to conquer, the meaningless world, but I'm saying pretty much like the same way an army goes and conquers a place, you know, similarly, human consciousness in general of an organism has started to conquer existence. So human experience has been conquering existence. You might feel like you're the most gentle, fragile, loving, like kind of person, but you might not realize that you are in the conqueror's shoes, right? When human beings, for example, we go to a butcher shop, right? Butcher shop. For example, you go buy meat and like you see like an old lady being like, yo, is this meat fresh? But that is a testament to how we have conquered another species. Do you see? So we conquer, we make it normal, we forget we were conquerors, and then we conquer again or are conquered. So what I'm trying to say with this episode is really that human consciousness has been conquering the existential void, and as it conquers the void, it replaces it with meaning. So consciousness has been conquering emptiness with meaning, with the projection, with putting something there that wasn't there before. Really, when you look at human life, it's all about what has been done and what hasn't been done yet, right? And there's so many levels to it. So let's see, let's try to come up with examples of consciousness conquering existence, pretty much. Let's give an example. Imagine there's a chair. Imagine you have gone to a bank, you're waiting at the bank line, like there's a line, and you see that there is an empty seat, or you're on the bus or subway and you see that you've gone into like the subway, the first person in, and you see there's empty seats. And what do? You go and conquer that seat. You go and take that seat. Okay? It could be on a micro level, we're all acting like conquerors. So one can say when you conquer something, you make it your own. I'm going to read the definition of conquer as well. Overcome and take control of a place or people by use of military force. Successfully overcome a problem or weakness, a fear she never managed to conquer, for example. To climb a mountain successfully, the second American to conquer Everest. To gain the love, admiration, or respect of a group of people. The Beatles were to leave Liverpool and conquer the world. So overcome and take control of. Human beings have overcome like the shocking meaninglessness of manifestation of existence, and we have placed instead of it inner models. So you know what that means? That means human intelligence looked at reality, and upon looking at reality felt it was incomplete. It's such a beautiful idea that the human being needed itself to conquer its existence. Now, the connotation to the idea of conquer is like ruthlessness, right? When we say somebody's a conqueror, we mean that person, like everything's adjusting to that individual, you know. That's pretty much what it was, right? Kings were like, they were like, yo man, I want a bigger world to move to in my domain. Pretty much it's the battle of domains. Mine started taking territory. Right now we're all conquerors. None of us can act like we're like innocent, peaceful people. Because the process of our development wasn't innocent. The human being has been conditioned through uh, a very long age of savagery. Sorry guys, I need to answer this. Okay. So, consciousness has conquered space by, in some sense, accepting how it has moved in it. There was a scene in the movie Gladiator where at the beginning the dude's just by a river, like looking at some peaceful moment, and a bird lands on a, the dude's praying by a river and a bird lands. A bird lands on a tree. And the guy just smiles and he goes to battle and he says strength and honor. And really, what really differentiates, those who are victorious and those who aren't is the intensity of wanting the victory. Human beings had the intensity of wanting life to make sense, so we deviated from it. So what it means is that we couldn't accept the world was meaningless. Imagine a creature that doesn't know language, has just opened its eyes in a massive world, doesn't know what to call everything, doesn't know how to, in some sense, relate to the shapes of the realm. You are right now part of an incredible process. You are existing as a member of the human species in the Milky Way galactic sector. Your existence is an addition to the human endeavor. We are all existing in the human form to serve the human. This does not mean to ignore higher powers. This does not mean to ignore divine authority. This does not mean to, in some sense, just use what the past has given us. The future is waiting. There are so many things undiscovered that the future generations will discover. The existence is waiting for consciousness to begin its dance. It's the romance of form and the formless. We as human beings of Earth 2024 are responsible for all the children of everybody. And this is coming from someone who doesn't have kids. That means imagine not having kids, but there being some sort of force, some sort of value, some sort of vision that pulls you into caring for the future efforts of your species. There is nothing more magnificent than to love the world that you are in while you're in it. But what does that love mean? What does it mean to love humanity? Does it mean to just draw heart shapes and just hug each other? No. To love humanity means to live for humanity. To live for humanity means to live for an extension of the cosmic expanse, the cosmic activity. You are living for your world that has lived so far so that you can get here. And what that means is the cost of our life is the service to be in it. And I've noticed there being a sort of disconnect, with the future, with all the humans who are alive now and their future. If you ask most people what kind of future do you see for yourself, they're going to pretty much say at some point I'm going to die, right? They're going to say that there's going to come a point where I'm going to exit. But I'm going to say, if that's the value, you see, there is a personal value. The personal value would be something like a human being living 100 years of life and only extracting value or having significance to the moment in accordance to what is happening to them. Right? So most human beings are like, what's happening to me? What about me? Right? But you don't realize, even if you were assisted, imagine some power came to you and you're like, yo, I need this and this and this and this to stop being a narcissist. And imagine that force gave you satisfied your narcissistic thirst for self-survival and self-amplification. But at some point, if you just, act like an eagle and just from a distant branch, or from the sky, look at the forest of humanity. You're going to feel that you're part of a team, but the team isn't doing anything. That is how 2024 feels like. It feels like the most advanced intelligence in this part of the cosmos is waiting. It's waiting for permission. 100%. Everybody's waiting for permission. If they can't give it to themselves, they need something else to give it to them. Let's take into this. Let's take this idea of an emperor. An emperor establishes a kingdom and then expands the kingdom. Human beings have established a kingdom. Right now, you are part of the kingdom of humanity, and you may ask, Mr. Within, if I'm part of the kingdom of humanity, who is the king? And I will tell you who the king is. That means if you ask me, Mr. Within, do you serve a king right now? I would say, I serve only one true force, which is ultimately God. So I ask, apologize, and anything I want, I go directly to the administrator of this world, which is the idea of the one and true God, which is not, in some sense, a shape. It's beyond shape. But the next thing, if somebody's like, all right, after you serve a cosmic king, who else do you serve? And I will say, I serve the kingdom of humanity in the context that the future generations wear the crown. That means the kings and queens I serve have not been born yet. That is the type of effort I am putting in the kingdom of in this kingdom of humanity I'm seeing. I am serving the greatness that is waiting for us to bring it here. One thing that I had a fear where could the next generations constantly be worse, and then I realized it's never worse, it's different. There was a time I thought that to be at a certain age was specific to the individual. For example, I'm like 10 years old now, I'm 20 years old, I'm 30 years old, I'm 40 years old. But then my mind took a completely different approach, that I thought, what if to be a creature is to be in the presence of a living world? So it's not that we are alive, it's that it's like every age is a being, and once we reach that, we access that being. So if a person's going through 100 years of life, that would be like them experiencing 100 types of beings. This life is so fascinating, this world. It has given you the opportunity to only see yourself, or to see everything else that you need to consider a separation from to be an individual. The armies of humanity are not per se armies of physical movement. It's pretty much the armies of genius. Pretty much the greatest ideas on earth begin organizing. The greatest efforts, the greatest energies. And my vision is always this. If you want, let's say there's 5 levels to something. If let's say not that there's 5, let's say there's 5 levels. Not only 5 levels, but let's consider 5 levels at first. If you want to master level 1, some people say be 2 steps ahead. So prepare for level 2. As you prepare for level 2, level 1 becomes easier, right? But now, if you want to prepare for level 5, and the human species knows up to level 5. To master level 5, you need to be a level 6 being, for example. To be an incredible normal human being, you need to put an effort to be an incredibly advanced human being. And the idea is you should aim to be so far ahead that in some sense, whatever your effort brings you is progress. For example, I decided to give 10,000 talks. So I was like, logically, one talk should be super easy. I should be able to give a talk anytime if I'm trying to finish 10,000 talks. So the fear and nervousness of giving one talk went away. But the fear and nervousness of completing 10,000 talks is there. So it's the effort and the ambition and the expectation. What do you expect from yourself in the next coming years? If you were your own employer, if you were your own administrator. And then what do you expect from your species? Do you expect your species to be idle? Do you expect, this human force that is here to not be organized? What's the point of organization? What's the point of laws? If we just want to break them and avoid them, it's the organization that the human being has. It's honestly a structure. That means the advanced humanity will appear when human beings have an advanced view on reality. The armies of consciousness that conquered, when the armies of consciousness conquered the void, it means that when the evolutionary program attained self-awareness, when we attained self-awareness, a completely different domain and world occurred. A world has occurred now where your effort can shift its implication, right? Just think about it. There's a system in existence that notices existence and remodels it, and then we go in accordance to the subjective internal remodeling. So right now I am a physical existential entity, but how the psychology functions is not just existential, it's experiential. It means that my personality incorporates factors that no longer exist. So if I am remembering something from yesterday and that is shifting my behavior today, I am actually allowing a moment that doesn't exist to influence my existence, which is another way of saying non-physical access to reality influences physical access to reality. So it's kind of like we say imagination doesn't exist, but why does it influence my personality that actually is in existence? Right? So what I'm saying is, you people can say imagination is not real till the end of time, but because it's influencing reality, how can it not be real? It's having real influence, right? If I have to make a decision and I remember a factor that's required for that decision yesterday, then it's as if I am using a moment that doesn't actually exist to correct the existence I'm in. This is why they say, the past is past, the present is waiting, and the future is awaiting. Present is waiting, future is awaiting. The future awaits. And there comes a moment where you may feel tired, where you may feel alone, where you may not even understand the value of what you are doing. But because it is more than you, that means anybody who follows the feeling that they're doing something more than themselves, that feeling is not wrong. If we had established armies, the armies of consciousness are not armies that want to destroy, they are the armies of creativity. It is in some sense, how advanced can 8 billion minds be? How advanced can the human effort be? It's an event. It's our performance. How you live is suggesting the life that's there. To live with a sense that the greatness of the world is expected to arrive soon, the arrival of the advanced humanity, the arrival of the advanced civilization, the arrival of the greatest organizational efforts of the mind, or collective minds. And ultimately it's for the future. An advanced civilization is the future's birthright. Thank you for listening.